All right, Friday, the 17th of November. We got a few things to discuss today. It's been a good week in the bonds. It's something that is always helpful to man, it makes Scotty's life easy because, man, having to keep having that talk about things kept going up, keep going up. People are like, well, let me see if the rates go down, and they don't go down. And then people pause even longer. So there's a little bit of benefit to rates being where they're at, being higher. So we'll get into that here in a minute. But let's take a look. So I'm actually having to look at a whole bunch of different things here, so we can talk about what's going on here. So there is, some talk that the hiking might be done, that the Fed might start cutting rates second half of 2024. And from what we have seen, historically speaking, I'm looking at some of the stuff Barry Habib put out, is that on the average, the first cut comes 10 months after the last hike, which our last hike occurred in July of this year. So that means history says if they do a cut, it'd be May of this next year. So we start getting to that particular point. They start cutting rates. That might be a very, very good thing. We also know, Barry talks about that they've been doing the quantitative tightening since early 2022. Well, that's when they've stopped reinvesting the funds that at least what they were making, putting money into the mortgage-backed securities and the treasuries. But they may start not really quantitative easing, but maybe reinvesting that again. So that might also bring rates down. So there's all this thought process of rates could come down. Okay, so I get that. I get what's being said there. Then I go and I step over to where Brian Stevens talks about things at National Real Estate Post. And I find some interesting thing within there. They comment that just in the last few days, Chairman Powell was at the International Monetary Fund. He said that he did not rule out another hike to help reduce inflation to the Fed's 2% target level. So did not rule out that hike. Also said that even though things sunk from the 9.1 peak last year as far as the CPI is concerned, it's still 3.7. So it's far away from the level that they wanted it to be. So it's still not reaching that 3.7 mark, or excuse me, that 2% mark. And we talked about where that is. Also, Powell said, we are not confident. And he said that the Fed's benchmark rate is still high enough to steadily reduce inflation down to 2%. So he still has a benchmark rate. He also said, we know that ongoing progress to our 2% goal is not assured, and inflation have given us a few head fakes in the past. So another thing that was said by Powell, we know because I've talked about it here, was that he personally said that they have found what they know about inflation is that they don't know enough about inflation. So when we consider all those things, I'm not convinced that we're really going to see interest rates go down that damn much. So let's take a look at the charts and see what we're seeing here. And I'm going to show you an old chart that we used to look at quite a bit, which is the 5.5. And the reason I'm going to show the 5.5 is because what we used to talk about in this particular downward channel I drew way back then was this 200-day moving average. That 200-day moving average acts as a ceiling. We're bouncing off that sumbitch like crazy. You see, that's this blue line here. That shows the 200-day moving average. That was just a hard ceiling it could never get above. Any of these trading days here would never get above there any more than a few days. And then I started to see this channel emerge, and this is where I drew this channel. Now we worked our way out of the channel the last little bit, and now we're back into this channel, which is a good thing. Now let's take a look at the 6.0. This is the none that I've been really focusing on a lot more. And I'm going to load the downward channel layout for the 6.0. So take a look at this. We have bounced not only out of the channel, so we were way out of it, came into it, shoved way back into it, and we started seeing the jobs being reported a lot more accurately. What we're also finding as far as the jobs is concerned, those who people have been laid off are not able to find jobs as easily. So again, showing weakness in the economy helps the bonds. So look at this. Not only did we get into the channel, but we busted out of the channel at the top, hit this resistance, which has been a really, really solid line again, as far as resistance of ceiling. Now we break above it, but then we're going back down. We're bouncing off of it today. Now, I'm not going to call this a support line at all, which I would turn that blue like I did down here, until we're convincingly closed above it more than one day, maybe a couple, 2 or 3 days. But look what's right above us here. That's that 200-day moving average lurking right above. We may get squeezed in there and bounce around in that particular thing. Now, again, I'm not convinced that rates aren't going to continue down the channel, continue to, as far as the market, keep trading down, therefore rates going up. I'm not convinced that it's not going to go back into that pattern. But here's one thing that I'm going to really admonish you guys to do everybody paying attention here, what you really, 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 really need to do, stop waiting for frickin' rates to come down to get into the house. Because what happens if the rates come down? The prices of the houses go up. Come on, go backwards, think for just a minute. It wasn't that damn long ago that realtors would tell you when you get ready to buy a house, be prepared to offer 30 to 50,000 over list just to get in the game. Did it matter so much to have a low interest rate when you're paying 30 to 50,000 over the price? So we also see some people say prices are softening in certain markets. Those are some of those markets people overbid the piss out of those freaking houses. So are they really softening, or are they coming back down to a level where the really value should be? So lock in your price today, because if rates come down, those prices are going through the freaking roof. I don't give a crap what the interest rate is. You can always refinance, but you can't always buy the house at a cheaper price, because I guarantee they're going to freaking go up. If these rates do come down, I don't know that they're going to, but if they do, you better damn well already have these houses purchased. That's all I'm telling you. So hope today is a very good day. Hope you have a kick-ass weekend. Hope your plans for Thanksgiving are starting to really, really come together, and that you're going to have some good family time. I will talk to you guys on Tuesday.